When I hear Hunter, I think about Daniel Boone, all right?
You know, whatever role they want me in on offense, I'm going to take it and do my best with it.
Little Mike Sellers.
Get some.
Little Mike Sellers.
That's what I'm talking about. Right there, baby. Right there, all this rainbow.
Commanders family, we have a special show for you today. As always, we start off the show with an inside look at this week's OTAs. Then we catch up with future Hall of Famer Brian Mitchell to talk about a special meeting with our very own Washington special teams. And finally, it's Mr. 8 to the 9's V-Day week. It wouldn't be complete without a birthday breakdown. All that and more starts right now on Command Center. Welcome into Command Center, Commanders family. I'm Brian Colbert Jr. here with Mr. 8 to the 9, Santana Moss, the mouth of the South, Fred Smoot, and the prospect professor, Logan Paulson. And since we call you the prospect professor, we're going straight to you because OTAs have kicked off. We have been there. Tana has been there as well. What has been your first impression so far, seeing those guys on the field working together?
Yeah, I think that just like super high level, I think one of the things that sticks out to me is just how consistent they are with the competition and consistent they are with the energy level at practice. You know, and I think that's something that's so hard to do, and it really speaks to Dan Quinn's leadership, speaks to the leadership on the team, you know, like Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, the guys that can carry that mantle. Yeah. Jayden Daniels, man, just how much fun it looks like they're having out there. And I think that it allows people to kind of be involved in the process, want to get better every single day. I think that's absolutely outstanding.
Just seeing some of those young new bodies that's out there. You get Jaylen Lane, you get Trey Amos. Those guys out there already, you know, competing. And Lane talked about coach telling them, hey, you know, I'm going to be, you know, basically criticizing certain things you do and how to be able to take on constructive criticism. So, you know, I just love everything about just seeing those guys competing at this level already.
It's fun seeing the coaches be so hands-on. Bobby Ingram, very, very hands-on with those guys. Now, Fred, we will be hitting the practice field next week, so you haven't got to be there, but I know you've seen a lot. I know you've talked to a lot of different people. What are you feeling? What are your expectations as we move forward?
Well, it's OT as a whole, man. If you look at this thing and have coach say this is a brotherhood, this is a family. Well, the one thing that families come together is always not war. We come together for picnics first. Right? And I look at OTAs as the ultimate family picnic. You get a chance to get around each other, you get a chance to know each other while learning plays, while learning what the structure is. Like if you're a free agent, if you're Debo Samuels, you're just trying to be one of the guys right now. And this is when this happens. This is when you have these emotional connections. This is when you take these guys out to dinner. This is when you say, yes, you are a commander. And this is when you show them how to be a commander. Because, you know, at first it sounded kind of cliche when they said that. But then as I see what this organization is doing, that means something now. What a commander means, I've seen 2 drafts. I've seen what type of guys they want. It's just unbelievable what they're doing, and this is the time you get that done.
And Fred, I like that picnic analogy. When you look at Dan Quinn, who is he at the picnic? Is he just the OG uncle at the picnic?
No. He's the granddad.
Oh, the granddad.
You know when granddaddy call all us in.
And tell his stories.
Yeah, he tell his stories and tell us why being part of this family means so much. To tell us why being part of the Johnson family makes you special. He gives you the whys and the whats, and that's all we want as family. That's all we want.
That's all we want. Let's hear wise words from the OG, Dan Quinn, right now.
We had said way back, hey, this isn't for everybody, but for the people that are so much about one another and getting better and doing those things, like those are important things to us. Like one of the main things for the players starting off to be here, like, can you be an awesome teammate, like top of the pile? Then it gets into like your role, what that can mean, how good can you get at these specific things, and then, you know, we go from there. But it has to be, man, like being a great teammate first. And so like, yeah, no shit, Dan, like that's important for everybody. But how do you live that? And how do you demonstrate that? And how do you show that to one another? Because not everybody's outspoken or, you know, like not like giving each other greeting cards every day. But there's spaces that you fill in that you're helping one another. You know, see how good you can get. And that, to me, is all part of it. I never wanted to be like having a good time and working your ass off to be in opposition of one another. Like I wanted those two things to happen simultaneously, like having a great time, and we were like absolutely emptying it out to go work hard. And so when I see practices like yesterday, like today, you probably didn't see as much of the speed. We had so much more in the red zone, but like yesterday, it was speed, man. It was the Ashburn relays. We wanted to see how fast we could go.
It's time for Securing the W, presented by Hercules Fence. Security in every job. Now, guys, last week we heard from Dan Quinn, and he always has these catchwords, right? And he used the word hunter. He's looking for those hunters out there. Now, Logan, me and you were out on the practice field last week. it's still a little early, but who do you see that kind of embodies that Hunter so far?
Yeah, for me, it's got to be Zach Ertz. And I think it's just because it's, what is this year, 12, 13 for him, right? He's 34 years old, and his ability to be so locked in on the details and like going, you know how it is, going through this process year on year, and to keep that edge, like that's a guy who's hunting for every inch to get better, right? I'd also throw Jane Daniels in there. Like I loved how sharp he was with his reads, how the ball came out of his hand. Like I just love seeing those guys that are so attentive to the process this time of the offseason.
And fellas, when you guys hear the word Hunter, right, you know that's what you guys want on it. Now, Fred, I'm going to start with you. Tana, I'm going to go to you next. I know you guys didn't get to go to practice last week. However, you guys seen a lot. You guys have talked to a lot of different people. Who embodies that Hunter for you, Fred Smooth?
Oh, Hunter. When I hear Hunter, I think about Daniel Boone, all right? I think about somebody that goes into the wilderness, get to wrestling with that bear, and come back with a meat. Right? That's what I want. So I want to say the defense as a whole.
Is that on your bingo card? Do you think he was going to say Daniel Boone? Is that on your bingo card?
You got to be a realist to understand. If you're in that hunt, it's a chance you can get bit too. Now, the one thing I love about Wolves, they hunt as a pack. Right? They are pack hunters, and that's what we're going to have on this defense. I could easily say it, Frankie Louvu. I could have easily said Bobby. I could have said any one of those guys, Ken Law. But I think as a group and hunting as a pack is more efficient than being a single hunter. So I'm going to say the defense as a whole, all three levels, especially that back end.
So since Fred said the defense, I have to use one of these guys from the offense, and I'm going to say Deebo Samuels. I think when it's coming into this team, man, so much been heard about who he was last year for the San Francisco 49ers, what he has on the table going into this season. Everything's on the table. He won a new contract. I'm pretty sure he won a longer deal. He has a lot to prove to people, to the naysayers that's saying, oh, he wasn't the Deebo of old last year. I think coming into a new team, you always want to put or leave that stuff behind you and now look forward to what you can do for this team. Prove to everybody on this team who you really are. I think he's going to be out there hunting.
And we mentioned hunting. Fellas, I think of hunting for that ball. And Fred, Trey Amos, the minute they started getting to it, he found that ball. Much like what Joe Witt Jr. always says he wants from his DBs. When you look at Trey Amos, how do you feel he is fitting in with what we're doing here, and where do you see him lining up at?
You just said it. He's a Joe Witt DB. The one thing important with Joe Witt, you need to be one, intelligent, two, you need to have ample ball skills, and Trey has both of them, and he has length. He's not and this is what I know Joe loves. He loves when you come up and you press and you take the air and the error out of routes. The one thing I learned very quickly about walking up and pressing them, pressing wide receiver like Tana, they all got checks. I can initiate that check by where my body is aligned at. Would I rather sit off at 5 or 10 yards and play off man and have to check the whole tree? Or would I rather go down and press this guy and stop a fade in a slant? Like, then the questions that you got to ask, and Trey has that ability, and that's why I say he's a Joe Witt defensive back because of those things, because of that length, because of those ball skills, and that's what they want. They want somebody to go turn the ball over, get the ball back, short fields for the quarterback, and I think Trey can do that.
And Logan, that was something we saw from Trey Amos right away, that length, that size that he had on that field. What did you see from him that you liked? Because there was a couple times you stopped in the middle of the discussion just to show him love on what he was doing.
And I think the thing about him that really sticks out is he's, like Fred alluded to it, and we saw it in the draft process, but he's got the feel for the position. Like we've covered guys that have played here before that are big, strong, fast, and athletic, but they don't have that magic feel for the quarterback position. And there's not a lot of positions on the football field that require so much instinct, so much kind of understanding of route concepts, so much feel for the football in the air. And I think, again, it's one practice, so I don't overstate, but to see that kind of take shape against some really good wide receivers, I thought was exactly what I was hoping to see from
And
them.
the game wasn't too fast for him. I think when you get rookies in, that's the first thing you want to see. How do they mesh with the rest of the veterans? Is it too fast for them? Do they need a moment? You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with needing a moment. I think he got right in there and picked right up on it.
And Tana, when you look at a defensive back with size from as a receiver standpoint, you look at that and kind of Fred said, like he wants to go up there and jam you. When you look at a guy like Trey Amos, how do you think he benefits what we're doing in this secondary?
Well, I think, one of the things that Fred talked about, just having that length, having those long arms, and then being comfortable by coming to press coverage. We talked ad nauseum about our defensive back last year and how impressed we was of Sanders still, knowing what we had there before, knowing that the comfortability wasn't there. And now when you have a guy just, man, this is my position. I came out of the womb playing this position. I'm going to be able to get up there. I'm going to be able to mirror you. I'm going to be able to run with you, use the sideline to my advantage. Stuff like that stands out when you watch this guy tape, and that's why I'm looking forward to seeing him do that this year.
And I think like Fred said, if you want to play a lot of man coverage, you are only as strong as your weakest link. So getting a guy like him in here allows you to move pieces around, right? Allows you to get Mike Sanderson in the slot.
Yeah.
Marshawn Lattimore when he comes back. I think about the safeties. Will Harris looked great in man coverage in practice the other day too, right?
Yeah.
So getting all those pieces together, it allows you to do some stuff defensively that's a little bit more dynamic. I can pressure more, bring more exotic looks, and I think that's ultimately what Joe wants to be, is be able to get in these looks, and that's what a player like Trey Amos lets you do.
And I think we all were excited to see these rookies out there. And it wasn't just Trey Amos. We were excited to see 83, Jaylen Lane out there.
Yeah.
When you look at a guy like Lane that has that speed, I mean, man, we did an interview, and people in the comments were saying, oh, he's the next Santana Moss. That's the kind of love they were getting him.
No.
But because of that type of speed, you know Tana gets love. He gets compared to everybody that's got a little size of that swag. Tana, when you look at a guy like Lane, right, how do you feel we can get the most out of somebody with all of those different type skill sets, similar to yours?
I think just one of those things about what Fred alluded to again, you know, I mean, he says all the right things, is how comfortable can he be? How much of a load can we give him, you know, as an offensive guy and a special teams guy? You know, when you get rookies coming there, you say, hey, he got the speed. We also know that we're going to use him punt return wise, but can we open that playbook for him and give him enough plays out there offensively so he can be effective?
Fellas, exciting times. We all love being out at OTAs. We're going to get our OTAs in a little bit. Let's take a look at some of the sights and sounds so far from OTAs.
Man, we got some big old guys, bro. Kinlaw and Wise and them boys, man, they huge, strong, and can get active on the D-line. So I'm excited to go out there. We got a chance to play a little bit this week, so it's gonna be fun.
Debo's a great dude. You know, you would have thought he's been here for the past, 5 years of his career. The way he's just, adjusted, and everyone here is welcoming him with open arms. And just being a part of this team, it feels good to have someone like him. As an addition to being able to help add value to this team and help us win ultimately. But yeah, just he's a guy that loves extra work, loves football, loves to win. So any way I could pick his brain about what receivers do to help myself, I'm gonna do exactly that same way I've done with all the other receivers that are on this team.
It's a blessing to be here to start off, and I'm just excited to get to learn from some of the best that have ever played the game, right? And that's from top to bottom, in between each position room. It's just, I'm being a sponge right now, taking in everything that I can take in from the vets and just continuing to stack days.
Always great to hear from some of the members of our defense out at practice, particularly our rookie linebacker, Kane Madrano, who spoke on being a sponge in a Hall of Fame-worthy linebacker room, especially with his old coach, Ken Norton Jr. Now, earlier this week, myself and Santana had the chance to catch practice from the sidelines on a live edition of Field Pass that we did just for the fans. This week, we took a look at the wide receivers, including another rookie in Jaylen Lane. It's time for Best Seat in the House, presented by SeatGeek. The most disruptive idea in ticketing, a ticket that works. Expect the expected. SeatGeek. Jaylen Lane, we've mentioned him a lot. Now, Tana, I did an interview with him on Raising Hell with the Rookies, and they was in the comments calling him the next Santana Moss. Now, that's lofty expectations for a guy that's done so much. But when you hear that, I'm sure that makes you smile because it's a respect for what you were able to do on that field.
And that's how I view it. I view it as just respect, man. It's always love to hear the fans that just try to find something in someone else's game and say that reminds me of that 89. So I love it, man. I never shy away from just getting mentioned. I mean, one of the things I laugh about when I hear Michael Irvin, I know he's a Cowboy, but he's a brother of mine. He's a Hurricane, and I laugh when I hear him talk about when people like CeeDee Lamb are making big plays in that number. He's like, well, they're gonna always bring up Michael Irvin, the old 88. So I love to see that. I love to hear it, and I'm looking forward to it, man. I look forward to guys who they say that might have something that I had, because guess what? Now I want to see some of those things. I want you to be able to go out there and hold up that end of the bargain when it comes to these guys giving you high praises right now.
And we spoke a lot on this week's Command Center about, and that'll drop tomorrow, about the importance of special teams when you're a guy trying to make the roster, right? Like, you were a first-round pick, but you found a way to make your name and presence felt via special teams. We talked about it a lot, but kind of reiterate why that'll be important for Jaylen Lane to find his footing through special teams, much like you and BMitch.
Yeah, special players play special teams, and that's something that people fail to realize. People look at special teams and say, "Oh, that guy plays special teams." You have to be a special player to go out there and do that. Some of those tasks on special teams, some of the guys who don't get none of the credit for those punts return, those kickoff returns, they take on the brunt of the job, and they go out there and make those holes and make those key blocks to get guys free who's able to go out there and make a name for themselves, being a BMitch, or being a guy like Bobby Ingram who caught punts, or being a guy like Santana Moss who the New York Jets, drafted me solely to be their punt returner, but they knew I could play receiver too. So, special guys are those guys that plays on those special teams. And guess what? Every year you get a chance to say, guess what? I can make it or break it right here on this team. I can be a part of this team by playing this special teams or having my chance to be on one of these units, or it can break my chances from not being able to be on this team if I can't find a spot here.
And you mentioned earlier about that mentality, always being mentally ready. How did being able to play special teams and kind of get your feet wet in that regard help you just be ready for what the NFL brings? Did it give you a little bit of more comfort knowing that you could do those things?
You know what special teams did for me? And when I was in college, I was always a kick returner in high school, little league, but I never knew that I couldn't be a punt returner. I never tried it. And it took my head coach, Butch Davis, saw me catching kick returns. I'm like, he catching those things with his hands. He's like, you can play punt return. I was like, nah, coach, that's not my cup of water. That's not my cup of tea. And he's like, no, I think you can. So a year goes by, and he's like, hey, we're going to need you at punt return. And I'm like, nah, I'm straight, coach. I told you before. He said, I'm not asking this time. And honestly, man, like when a head coach come to you and tell you that, I had no argument for that. I'm like, well, you know what? Now I got to go be a punt returner. And instantly, love at first sight. I mean, I got out there my first punt return, made a guy miss the entire game. I made the whole team miss the entire game and got like 40 yards on my first return. And I said, you know what? All this time I had this talent and I just didn't know it. And that's what it takes a coach to see something in you for him to put you in that situation so you can go out there and thrive at it.
Always great to get out on that practice field and see our guys put in that work. Now, at last week's OTAs, future Hall of Famer Brian Mitchell got to impart some wisdom to the team before practice and afterward hit the practice field with them to give real-time coaching advice.
It's time for your Can't Miss Moment presented by FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official partner of the Washington Commanders. And welcoming in my brother, future Hall of Famer Brian Mitchell. Normally you call in, brother, but you came here and graced us with your presence today, fresh off the golf course. Huh?
I was close here. I was over there doing a show from there, so I figured I could come in instead of trying to hook up the camera.
We like having you in the building, and it seems as if this coaching staff and ownership loves having you in the building as well. They brought you into practice to not only talk to the guys, but also be like a pseudo-type coach, right? Could you give us the background of that, how it came about, and what you got to the guys about?
Well, last year when I was out here for training camp, Coach Quinn was talking to me about would I come over and talk to the guys, and I told him definitely anytime he needed me. And then he reached out to me a few weeks ago, and I told him I would be over here that day, and he said, okay, come in. So I went in, I talked to the guys in the meeting. And then when I got out of practice, I was just standing on the sideline. He said, hey, get your ass over here. Yeah. You here to work. So I just jumped out there, and you don't try. They tend to understand. You don't want to tell guys, do this. No, I just want to watch them a little bit, see what they were doing. And I just started giving them little pointers about things they were doing. Because I noticed everybody catch the ball square. Yeah. And then they move. Yeah. And I'm like, if you take those little extra time, those guys are getting closer. Yeah. And your guy with the trail technique, when they try to block, the guys keep running, they don't stop. But as soon as you take a step forward, those guys stop, and they'll normally give you 10, 15 yards right in front of you. And I watched Lane. Lane did it, and then the kid from Miami, the receiver.
Oh, the receiver guy.
Osborne, they started doing it. He said, man, it makes sense. Yeah. But he said the guy and he told him to catch it like that. I'm like, man, you catch the ball here, and when you go to turn here, the guy's too close. So you try to have one guy hit you, not two, not three. You want to get there as quick as you can.
But like with a punt, though, you can't run into it the same way on a kick, right? So is there, the balance doesn't help you out? Or
you can. No, you can step into the punt. Yeah. Like punts, they have all different. If it turns over, you know where it's coming, so you can catch it and step right into it. If that back of the ball stays back, it's going to fall that way. So you begin to catch on to what it is. So one time I saw Jaylen kind of like coasting, Jaylen Lane, I saw him coasting, and I say, run back there, get behind the ball, then you can adjust and step to it. Yeah. Because that's when you can step into it. But a lot of times guys are catching it square because they are coast to coast, then boom, they get their feet like that. So I just like to step into it because the quicker you get back into it, the quicker they slow down and your blockers have a better chance.
Personally, I'm glad they did that. You got all this brain power and this brain trust that went to Super Bowl. Right there, baby. Right there, all this brain power. And just to be asked to share that. That's cool. That had to be humbling, and they had to be like, finally. Like,
it felt good.
It felt good, right?
It felt good to be asked because I've been saying it for years. Like, if I can help in any way, do it. And this is not nice. Look, I don't want the job.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a coach. I love to help people. If I have something I can give the guys to make them better, I'm going to do it. I don't want to be anywhere all day. They're here all day.
Yeah.
I won't be able to swing them. You know what I'm going out and I leave here. So I love my golf. But the whole thing about it, the mere fact that he asked, and I watch how he handles his business. I watch how his coaching staff handle their business. And I want to just go out there and do what I can. And I'll continue doing it.
Yeah. And think about that too. You'd be amazed at how many folks are taught differently. Like you just asked about it.
Yeah.
You know, and me and BMitch talk a lot about punt return and kick returning throughout the year.
Did you talk to him when you were playing here too?
Well, I didn't talk to him, specifically about punt returning, but we always share a little, highs and buys or just, chatting here and there. But what he's trying to say is that you can get behind the ball. And once you see where the ball's going at, you get to that point first. And then now you could come down here because now you understand you're behind enough to where now you can attack the ball. So it's simple when we doing it because we do it off of instinct and we know and we was taught that way. But a lot of these guys haven't heard that terminology. So that's basically what he's basically alluding to.
Yeah. Man, these guys are so lucky to get game from a future Hall of Famer like that. And you've seen the guys return a couple punts, do a couple things. Who stands out to you and who do you favor when you look at those returning those punts and returning those kicks?
They drafted the guy because they say he's a playmaker, and that's Jaylen Lane. He's unbelievable. Also, talked to Kaz a little bit, and also KJ Osborne. I think all those three guys right there were very, very much into it, and you could see when I would say something, they were just taking it.
Yeah.
I like that. And it's a doctorate degree when it comes to punt returning. You can get back there if you get back there good enough. You read the ball good enough. You can look at the coverage a little bit, then come back to the ball. Won't teach him that yet. To be honest with you, you take out that ball in the wind if it's moving somewhere, it end up somewhere else. But once they could get to a point and figure all that out, it helps you out tremendously. Because if I ever took my eye off it and I looked, and I always told my guy, if I look you in your eye, don't stop. Keep coming because I'm going to return this. And they may be right there at the cameras, but I'm going to catch the ball 3-4 yards and you just shield them and I'm gone. Because they think you're not catching it because they're getting closer. You just need a little shield and go for it.
Sound like a future Hall of Famer, don't it? Future Hall of Famer Brian Mitchell. And you made a name for yourself, a Hall of Fame career playing special teams. And another guy that we expect to make impact, you mentioned it, Jaylen Lane on special teams. Let's take a look at his college numbers before we break down this young brother's career.
Time for your winning numbers presented by the Maryland Lottery. Please play responsibly. Now, rookie wide receiver Jaylen Lane led Virginia Tech with 38 receptions in his final season. And as for special teams, he averaged 11 yards per punt return for his career and returned 2 for touchdowns. With 203 receptions, over 2,500 receiving yards, 18 receiving touchdowns, and he even got it done with his legs with 264 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. Gotta imagine he will be on the hunt for a roster spot like the rest of our rookies. And I gotta imagine Commander fans everywhere are excited to see number 83 on that field. I got to catch up with him this week on Raising Hell with the Rookies and asked him, how do you fit in this Cliff Kingsbury offense? Take a listen. It's time for Raise Hell with the Rookies, presented by Intuit for Education, tackling financial literacy together.
And Jaylen, you're gonna be getting thrown to by somebody that's making himself a great very, very quickly. We've heard other analysts say Jaylen Lane is going to be the best we've ever seen because of the quarterback he gets to play. Jaden Daniels is possibly the best quarterback you've ever gotten to play with, man. How do you feel getting to be able to play with a guy like Jaden Daniels, the Rookie of the Year from last year, man? How great is that?
Man, it's exciting. Just watching what he did last year, watching what the team did last year, you can just feel the momentum and, the trajectory of this organization. And I'm just happy to be a part of it, man. I'm going to put my best foot forward and give it all I got. But, it's a blessing to be here.
And, man, honestly, I don't know if there's a better situation to be in when you have a head coach like Dan Quinn, but you also have an offensive coordinator in Cliff Kingsbury, who just finds ways to get the most out of their guys. Have you gotten a chance to talk to Cliff a little bit? And what are you expecting from yourself coming into your rookie year?
Yeah, we're coming off the field day one of rookie minicamp, and Coach Kingsbury pulls me aside and just talked to me about one of my routes, just, coaching me up. I love stuff like that. We talked about being like criticism, like great players value criticism. So, I was just, listening to the coaching points, I'm just soaking everything in. And, same with Coach DQ and, the rest of the staff too. But, I'm just excited. Like I said, excited to be here, man. I'm on, whatever role they want me in on offense, I'm going to take it and do my best with it.
Great talking to Jaylen Lane. That boy is happy and hungry to be here. You can catch our full sit-down interview and others on the Commanders YouTube page every Monday. Now, you can also catch Command Center Podcast. That is every Wednesday. That's with Logan Paulson, Fred Smoot, and Santana Moss. Then, of course, every Friday, we got the Get Loud crew. Now, this week's Get Loud, they'll be joined by the birthday boy, Mr. 8 to the 9. I promise you will not want to miss that. And speaking of Mr. 8 to the 9, this week is my brother's birthday week. Now, here's a look at some of his numbers from an incredibly historic career. Over 10,200 receiving yards. And Fred, that's 66 touchdowns. I feel like they're missing a few.
I did the math. Of course, they missing 3-point returns, so they put us at 69. And don't forget the playoff touchdown. That'll put us at 73. So there we go, 73.
And that's a great point, Fred, because these numbers do not reflect playoff numbers. That's a whole nother monster for Mr. 8 to the 9. You know we love Mr. 8 to the 9 so much. So let's look at some of our favorite top 5 plays from Santana. It's time for Top 5, presented by UA Local 5 Plumbers, protecting the health of the nation's capital since 1890. Now, first up, Logan. Pick this play for you, and we're playing Philly.
Yeah, 2012, man, coming out of the bye. This is a gotta-have-it game. It's tied, and then what do we do? RG3 throws an arm punt. An arm punt in the double coverage.
Yes.
Not ideal, and our guy, 8 to the 9, makes the play, walks in for a touchdown, man, and it speaks to the competitor.
Yeah.
Speaks to making your quarterback right.
You went full Debo Samuels right there.
Debo Samuels, man.
I went go gadget,
whatever. And Tana, it wasn't just Logan that picked one. Fred picked one, too. Now, this one was Tana toe tap over here against Philly again.
That's called toe drag swag. All right here. Like, listen. It's no room for error. Not even an inch on this play right here. And as a DB, nothing feels more hopeless than watching the back of a Moss jersey as he toe tag swag right there.
Same season, too.
Same season, man.
Now, our Command Center crew are amazing producers. You know, they like that grit, they like that toughness. So this next play right here is Santana Moss getting busy, but this time, my boy blocking.
Oh, dude, we're at fullback, right?
They ain't know I was
Put
a
the
big
9
guy.
on there?
Little Mike Sellers.
Get some!
Little
Get some! That's what I'm talking about, man.
Let me have them knees, baby.
Love that.
This is the best thing I've ever seen. This is great.
What is that, man? I didn't know that.
Guy, man.
That dog.
Dude,
His head hit the ground first.
Dang, Tana.
All right.
You see that hole right
Look at
there?
that.
You see that gap?
Cleared it out, man.
Tana was waiting to get that aggression out all game long. Now, Tana, if you had to guess, what do you think the fans get picked as their favorite play? I think we all know it.
I don't know.
Monday Night Miracle, baby. The one play you can't get away from, Tana. The Monday Night Miracle, but this right here embedded you in the hearts of burgundy and gold fans for years to come. 20, 30 years from now, when we're long gone, they'll be showing this play, man. Yes, sir.
I would never thought that night was going to end like that, man.
And how did he burn the head coach of the New York Jets?
Now, we got to end now with a walk-off. We got one more, and this one is from the Jaguars game.
My favorite right here.
Oh, my
This
goodness.
is a
Look at the
crazy
birthday
play.
boy right here.
My favorite, man. Growing up
This
in
is
Florida,
10.
a Florida boy giving it to his old team he rooted for, just like that. With their old quarterback. Mark Burnett was the quarterback for Jacksonville when I was growing up watching them. So
Most definitely.
Love it, man.
That's the way to
I'd love to see that burger right there.
And it's all, I don't know if these are trick candles, but the lights is coming out. It's all
Look
about
at
Mr.
that.
8 to the 9 right
how y'all
here.
do me, man.
It's our birthday boy here, brother. Just know we love you.
I made
We
that cake
appreciate
for
you,
you, bro.
dog.
for me,
Hey, Zach Selby baked this for you, so you know it's gonna be good.
you my boy, Zach.
Hey, man. Shout out to Santana Moss. Shout out to all of you guys. We know we all love Tana. Happy birthday to Mr. 8 to the 9. Shout out to Fred Smoot, Logan Paulson, Brian Mitchell. I'm Brian Cooper Jr. This is Command Center. Until next week, we out this thing. Fred, sing him happy birthday.
Happy birthday, dog!
I'm blowing candles.
Yeah.